Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Ask the Expert, episode number 88. The date is the 7th of July, 2000. Oh, Ask the Accountant. Oh, good. I mean, what was that one thing you asked me to do before we went live? You will notice we are a little bit late due to technical problems, but it's glad to be here. And we've already got comments streaming in. But before we go to those comments, Johann, it looks like you're in a different place. Looks like you're in a hotel or something. Tell us, where in the world are you today?
No, I'm just in my office. I'm just having quite a lot of technical problems this morning. It all started last week when my Wi-Fi router decided it didn't want to be a Wi-Fi router anymore. So that got replaced like Thursday. I've been having no problems ever since. Came into the office this morning and my cameras aren't talking to my laptop. The internet's only talking to the laptop at a fraction of the speed. Yeah, I'm diagnosing the problem as my laptop. So it might be getting a bit of a hard reset. And I'll sort that out later. But iPad Pro M4 to the rescue. So all good. How are things at your end?
For saying it's just coming through the iPad, it's looking good, to be honest. Like, yeah, no, you've smashed it as a backup device. All good my end, especially with recent sporting results. So we both watched the F1. Absolutely brilliant to see George come up on top, and really feel sorry for Max, obviously, for crashing. That was a real painful moment in my life.
I think you meant Nando.
No, I was being facetious.
Oh,
right. I was screaming at the top of my voice when he crashed off.
Ban him for life.
Yeah, exactly. And England was not a shabby result either, was it? So, does it get any better going through that? But we'll talk more about the England and what might have done for socials later in the episode. So, Jan, how was your week, though? Because you've told us about your technical problems, but what about the week itself? How did it go?
Busy. What did we do this week? Christ, it's been that busy. We've been mainly focusing Client Engager on our rebrand. So new login screens as well, new level of customization. So we're now engager.app, which you think, rebrand, it's just a change of a logo. But you know what? Trying to track down every single place you mention that logo and you show that logo is a bloody nightmare. But yeah, Ash and Andy have been busy getting that all sorted. We've also just appointed a new person for customer success, so they'll be working alongside me to increase our support levels. So yeah, I did a webinar for Apron, talking about how I've managed to switch from Dext to auto entry to Apron. So that was well received and went much further than we expected based on the emails I've had since. But yeah, I will leave it at that, shall we say. But yeah, how about your week? You got anything done?
Lots done. It's been a real focus on work week, and I much needed it. Got a few tasks that were well out of sync than what they should have been, but been able to manage that. Almost got to a 0 inbox at one point. Didn't quite happen, but I almost got there, which is just the best feeling in the world, isn't it? When you can actually finally sit back and say, you know what, all of those tasks have been completed. But I've got the same this week. I'm off to go cardless this week, so that could be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to go talk to them about how Go Cardless has helped our practice and how they're helping our clients and everything else. So that'll be an interesting little insight and go through from there. And then maybe also a QuickBooks, what is it? Meet and an event, a networking event in London, which is on the same day. So I might be able to go over to see that. So Wednesday could be a really exciting day. But yeah, it's busy as always. And then we've got a little thing called F1 on Friday, haven't we? Which I know we're both
off to Silverstone, the Temple of Speed, the home of F1.
It's going to be brilliant. And if it's anything, I mean, that's one of the reasons why this week's F1 was just so good, because it just set it, sparks are now there. There's going to be tension. There's going to be issues, and just what we want. But this show would not be what it is without you glorious people coming in and talking to us. So hello to all our wonderful listeners, the people who've shouted up so far. I forgot to go live on Instagram. So Apologies, Instagram. We've got Dave here. Hello, Dave. How you doing? Paul's here. Good morning, Paul. Natasha's here. Good morning, Natasha. Marcus is here. Absolutely smashing on LinkedIn, Marcus. Keep it up. It's been brilliant. Kirsty's here. Hello, Kirsty. Clive's here with Clive Han QBO. He's got a potential YouTube channel on his way coming up, and he's got some interesting names, so we'll put it at that one. So hopefully can find the right name for him to go forward on there.
Are you appointing a lawyer?
Hey, imitation's the first form of flattery. That's all I can say. And I think he needs to go and push himself definitely with his personal branding, as we always tell everyone. Well done on QuickBooks for making the quarterfinals to Euros. We'll talk about that later. And Kirsty's here as well. Oh, Kirsty's here twice. So you get 2 shout outs, Kirsty. Great to see you. Right then. So what is our first topic? Our first topic is finally we can talk about an acquisition that's been made in the world of the accounting industry. One that we heard about a while back, and we had to kind of be really careful about what we said because we weren't 100% sure about if it was right or wrong or if we'd misheard.
And it's still not official who's brought them.
This is true. This is true, actually. Yeah. So maybe we don't
make
talk
reference to that.
Good point.
But yeah, we'll cover the news anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's big news, right? Like in our industry, practice management software, as one half of Ask the Accountant will definitely tell you is true, it's a very vital part of our accounting tech stack for any practice out there. And we've only got a handful of options realistically, right? Like if you think about it, there's obviously Bright or account manager, whatever you want to call it. There's client engager or engager, whatever you want to call that one. Then there's going to be, a handful of others. And one of those other handful of others were Pixie. And I think Pixie was at one point a very popular choice, especially in certain circles that you went into. I know like the Accountants Wealth Academy, they pushed it massively because that was a real big push for them. I think 6-figure at one point. There was definitely a sponsorship there, but they definitely used it as a let's use that sponsorship to look into it a little bit more and then show what it can do, right? And I think 6-figure may have had a similar sort of setup with them at one point as well. So it's one of those where it's a very community-driven solution, Pixie. My personal opinion, I don't think it's a practice management solution as such. I think it's an amazing task management solution, but it lacks for me what I need for practice management for doing what it needs to do. But it definitely had a place at the table. And it definitely was one of those which was pushing the likes of, especially back in the day, Bright Accounting Manager to look at doing new things. It definitely took practice management in a different route, didn't it?
Yeah.
Now it's been sold. And the main guy who was doing it, and the main guy whose vision it was to bring Pixie to the table, has left straight away. Now, 2 things here. First, from your point of view, what do you think that means for the landscape of practice management going forward? And secondly, if the main person leaves so early, doesn't that give you alarm bells? For me, like normally, if you have an acquisition, don't you want that main visionary to be in there for? You'll try and do a golden handshake, wouldn't you? And they'll be locked in there for a year, 2 years, whatever it's going to be. But the fact that they completely left, isn't that red flags?
If you look at all the other acquisitions that have happened in the practice management space, pricing space, etc., as soon as whether they leave straight away or 18 months later, as soon as that leader, that visionary person that actually created and brought the product to life leaves, it's pretty catastrophic to the product. And it's whether whoever's brought, I mean, we technically know who's brought Pixie, but it's not been made official yet. It's not been spoken of anywhere, so we won't say. But whoever's brought it has obviously gone, it's going to happen whether we do it now or later. Let's just cut the cords now. So yeah, I mean, Pixie is an interesting one. I think obviously Pixie was getting bigger and bigger over the last couple of years. I don't know, they never seemed to threaten Bright Manager. Like, they weren't worried, whereas we know Bright Manager are worried about Client Engager or Engager.app. So it had huge potential, but I think their direction of growth was very different to Engager.apps. Like Pixie was all about raising capital and investment and spending that on sponsorships and advertising and event stands, etc. Whether they got that return on investment they were hoping for there, I don't know. And then they kind of shot themselves in the foot with Pixie 2.0 and AI and stuff that never really came. So yeah, as QuickBooks and Xero and Accountancy Manager and everyone always says, the more competition there is in the industry and in that market space, the better for the customer, the client, the user. Because there's one-upmanship constantly. Well, you've done it like this, we're going to do it like this, and here's our little bell and whistle. Here's our brand new feature just to be superior to someone else. So from that point of view, it's a shame that Pixie have gone, because them and Carbon were looking at AI earlier than anyone else was. Potentially too early, I don't know, but yeah, it's one less batch of ideas, inspiration, creativity in the space. So yeah, having said that, anyone that wants to join the fastest growing practice management tool in the market, Engage.app is very welcome. We're very happy to have you.
Yeah, and my overarching feeling of this when it happens, I think 2 points of what you said there. First of all, you mentioned about the AI side of things, like Pixie 2.0, and completely, like, they definitely over-promised and then under-delivered on that one. Yeah. But it was a spark of genius for that first accountant law, Accountex. Yeah, that they announced it, right? Because it was the buzz. Like, everyone was talking about it, right? I remember we were due to speak on our stage, and we had to change our whole narrative for that last bit of the section because, well, we had to talk about it. Like, everyone else was talking about AI. We had to talk about it, you know, and it became that buzzword that everyone was having to talk about. And the fact that they were able to come into it and go, look, this is what it's going to do, etc., etc. Now, they clearly over-promised, under-delivered on it, and I think maybe that's one of the reasons they've had to sell, maybe, you know, tinfoil hat moment and all that lot. But it's interesting, isn't it, how they were at least in the conversation at that point.
I was looking into this over the weekend, and it was quite interesting. I don't think they delivered on the functionality of AI in the end. Okay. I think they could have delivered that. I think their problem was they built such a customizable product in Pixie 1.0. Yeah. They couldn't actually replicate. So for 2.0 to work, it was on a whole new software technology bed, from what I understand.
Platform, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But what they realized was they couldn't replicate 1.0, never mind enhance it on the new bed. And like Center and Iris are having this same issue. Like Iris Elements cannot replicate the level of customization and functionality that Center had.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't think they overcommitted in the technology sense for the new stuff. I think what they underestimated was the complexity of taking what we already had, putting that into a new platform. Now, we're ultra aware of that at Engager.app. We very much think, right, how can we ensure we're future-proof? Like, so everything is built with future-proof in mind. So we know we can, basically we've done it modularly. So we don't have to replace the whole system. We could just put certain parts onto a new system and power that with AI if we wanted to, but we wouldn't have to do it for the whole product. So we're much more prepared for that. Now, the way we've done it actually makes us less attractive, shall we say, to software vendors that are looking to acquire and merge us into them. So we've already had feedback by a few software vendors that were looking at us going, we don't like the way you replicate your accounts, etc. Yes, it's secure, but it's more fiddly from a scaling up model. It's like, well, it is on their levels, but not for us. So yeah, we've deliberately built that in mind, whereas I think Center and Iris certainly misjudged the complexity of maintaining current functionality before importing it over. And I think that might be where Pixie went wrong. It wasn't that they couldn't do what they promised. It's that they couldn't replicate the current product well enough to deliver that and then what they wanted to do on top.
Yeah, because 2.0 was it was a whole migration that had to happen, or it was, or they didn't have a migration available. There was, I don't know the product enough, but there was talk in the community, wasn't there, about how tricky it was to move from Pixie 1.0 to Pixie 2.0, and yeah, they started to run before they could properly walk in the AI step, right? Or at least what they were trying to achieve, and that was a huge shame because, I mean, overall as a task management solution, again, brilliant concept. There were some really clever bits to it, like really granular in like the way that the tasking would work, and some clever little automations there. It's one of the first ones to integrate into Zapier. So, you know, if you really wanted to, you could really make a really powerful task management solution there that could automate a lot of solutions for you. Like that's what its focus, that's what its strengths was. And it was the first one really that brought the whole, well, let's bring our emails into it. Let's, you know, that's a huge database of really important information. Let's make sure that's into it. So that's what brought it. And again, this is what the cleverness of the owner and the, you know, the main guy at Pixie, that's what he brought to the table. That was his vision, right?
Yeah.
And my only concern is if he's not staying, doesn't that worry you about the future of what Pixie is? Because to me, if the founder's willing, or willing's the wrong word because that's probably unfair, right? But if the founder is there after acquisition, then at least a part of the vision is still going to be going strong. If the founder takes that away, then surely the only thing left for that is whatever vision the acquirer's got. And we don't know, again, we can't talk about who the acquirer is at this point, but it's very rare that you're going to get an acquirer who's exactly laser focused on what the original one. And another part of it for me is, and I find this a lot when I'm doing like reviews, like beta reviews, or looking at new software, everything else. A lot of the time you'll look at something and you'll go, I don't quite understand what they're trying to achieve here. There's this button here or this workflow here that does X, Y, Z, right? Yeah. And it's not until you talk to the founder or the person who's made it and goes, oh, my goal was to do this, this, and this. And sometimes they just, you know, their idea is amazing, but their execution is just not quite there, and it's not quite hitting those spots. And with a few tweaks, their amazing workflow they've figured out, we can replicate, right? I feel with Pixie, there's a lot of great ideas there that never really got fleshed out, that never really got, you know, brought to fruition, especially in 2.0. And I feel like a lot of that now potentially is lost and gone forever. But realistically, the future of that product now is 100% in the hands of the acquirer. I don't know if that's a good thing for the Pixie community, because obviously the Pixie community liked something about Pixie. There was something that was attractive. And I'd imagine majority of that was where the founder, the main guy, was taking it. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, it goes back to what I was just saying. Like when you lose the founder is the visionary, and the visionary, they are emotionally invested in the product as well as financially. They are the ones with the ideas, the direction, the bigger picture type thing. And when big softwares come in and buy up these smaller softwares, that board of directors and investors do not have the same emotional commitment on any level. But even if you have some of the most visionary people on the board, they probably aren't going to be, because they aren't as emotionally invested in that product, their vision for that product is stumped compared to the original founders. And I think we see that all the time. You know, Go Proposal, Accountancy Manager, all of these acquisitions happen and development almost stops. And it's not necessarily because money's not there. It's because the vision and the visionary has been removed. And they tend to suffer quite badly for it. So unless Pixie's going to be taken in a whole new direction to a whole new kind of market by the acquirer, I don't see how they're going to be able to maintain the same reputation and development and pace of innovation in the current space that they're in.
Yeah. And speaking of the current space we're in, what does that leave for the practice management landscape now, right? Every other competitor other than Engager.app now has been acquired. There isn't really anything else out. There's a couple of ones around the fringes, like TaxTame, I suppose. They've got those ones there. They're not really ready for the UK market, but they're there, right? They're in the conversation. Yep. But everyone else now has this big calamity, like overlord looking after them. In some cases, that's going to work out pretty well for them. In other cases, and for the majority of them, we've already seen fallout from that happening, right? Like, you know, you've already mentioned it's Center and everything else, and going into Iris Elements and everything. It just for the core users of that product, the historical users, the OGs of that product, they're not having a great experience. Now, going forward, I imagine the new people involved, they're going to love it, right? Like, they're going to turn on that functionality. They've got practice management solution, and they've got, you know, accounts production, everything else all in one. Like, the new people to the franchise are probably going to, like, they don't know any different, right? And they're just going to like what they have. But I think for a lot of those OGs out there who really like the solution and liked what it is, they're having a bad time, aren't they, at the moment? Because things are being taken out of their hands. Things are being changed against what they originally bought into and the original reason for liking that software. So it's going to be really interesting for practice management going forward. And if anything, now potentially that limits the amount of choice that new owners have, or new practices have, or any practice out there has, for moving over now, doesn't it? Because now it feels like
it's
only a handful of choices.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what the plans are from the acquirer, but at this moment in time, it looks like one less viable product on the market for startup and small to medium firms.
Yeah, 100%. And we can't talk about it too much. We know that software helps run another piece of practice management solution out there, right? Would the future of them be as straightforward now? I doubt it. Like, that does feel like it's going to be a more, you know, it'll be an interesting point of how that goes forward, right? And how that solution gets maintained. Because to me, I don't know, unless the new acquirer is only interested in platform 2, and that's all they're going to talk about going forward, and they're almost going to sunlight platform 1, or even, you know, sell off platform 1. That could be a potential that might work for everyone involved, right? And then it gives everyone kind of some stability going forward. But even that, I don't know if that's the answer that we really need. I think in the space, we need, as you've always said, we need the competition, right? We need, like, different views and different looks. And to me, Pixie was the one doing things very different. Like, their whole idea of practice management from day one was completely different to what we would probably see practice management and going forward. So it was, it's just a shame, isn't it, that they're now pretty much taken out of the equation.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, of course, Engager.app want to be the #1 practice management solution in the market, but there's no point of being #1 when you're the only one there. Yeah. Like, we want competition. We want that drive to keep pushing us forwards. So yeah, it's going to be, I mean, it's been an interesting 18 months in the practice management space already.
Yeah,
I think this is going to make another interesting few months ahead. Because there's still a lot of big stuff coming out from all the providers in the coming months. So it'll be interesting to watch. And it's interesting that Paul's got put in the comments, isn't it sometimes the goal of the visionary to build a business, sell it off and for the profit, and move on to something new? I think ultimately that actually is part of the problem from a user's point of view. Of these founders have a very short-term mindset of build, sell for a few million, disappear. Or you take the infinite mindset that Simon Sinek talks about, of you build your business in such a way that the software business runs itself, and you cream off a few million every couple of years and let the business run itself, and you just be involved as much or as little as you want to be as the founder. Like, I would make more money out of the infinite mindset of keeping the business and keep running it and keep developing it and keep building it than I would to build and sell and then have nothing and have to live off that income, that selling profit, until I come up with something else to do. So
yeah, because it's all well and good saying let's build another one, but like the reason that your original solution got so successful is because you had expertise in that area, right?
yeah,
And we're all human.
and
We only have expertise in so many areas.
there'll be non-competing agreements in that acquisition. There'll be rules banning them from the space for a period of time, or from what the buyer may perceive as a encroachment on the original software idea. Like, yeah, it is a very short-term goal, and the amount of people out there that have built a software company in the accounting and bookkeeping space, sold it, and come to regret it because the new buyer hasn't done what they wanted to do with it. Yep. They've not honoured the vision, the culture, the ethics. B, it might be that they've had more ideas to help drive it forward and they can't do anything about it. Or C, they're so tied up in different legal agreements as part of the acquisition that they're struggling to find a direction forwards.
Yeah, so 100%.
Yeah, and in that case, like, actually the founder loses ultimately, but the users lose out immediately.
Yeah, and we've seen that so many times, right? We can go through the past and look at acquisitions that have gone horribly wrong for certain users, right? Like that's there. That is exactly the issue that for a lot of people, we don't want to react. Like we want history to be there for a reason, and we want a lot of the times for people to use that history and go, let's not do that to them again, because it's not fair on them, right? Like especially something like practice management, which is a huge undertaking to move. Like people don't want to move that. You're very sticky for a reason.
Yeah, and ultimately, actually, the whole industry is harmed by these acquisitions, because these people that are creating technology to improve systems and processes in the accounting space, or change thought leadership on pricing or managing people, whatever it is, as part of their acquisition deal, they're basically told they can't do much in the accounting space anymore. So actually, we've no longer got that thought leadership. We've no longer got that visionary input into our space. So actually, the whole industry suffers because of it.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, the new vision that comes in, and I'm a prime example, right? I was very content with my accounting manager solution, very content with it. It was helping me build my practice and ticking all those boxes, right? And after the acquisition, their whole vision changed from like trying to build the best in practice of what it had to, oh, let's build the best in ecosystem. Let's go on this. And for a short amount of time, I was well on board with that vision. Like they sold me the dream completely. Yeah. This idea that my whole practice could have one ecosystem that could just run it all. Like that, that was a dream that obviously sounded too good to be true. And they're going to get there one day, but that's a long road.
They're a step closer now, aren't they? After this week's news.
Well, yeah, we'll bring that up after the thing, but yeah, but the dream was there, right? The dream of them being able to like have that one solution that can run them all was brilliant. But as a user, I went from being really content with my software to becoming frustrated very quickly, and then being shown this dream and being kind of involved in the back end of looking at the betas and everything else put me off, because the dream they'd sold me wasn't so far away from the dream of my expectations and what my expectations were, that just soured that relationship. And that's, unfortunately, that's what happens, right? Like those dreams that you first, those visions that you first come in, the bigger solutions have got these bigger dreams that that sound amazing on paper, but actually they're unrealistic to deliver anytime soon, right? Before we move on, though, let's go on to Apron and let's go and see what Apron has to offer. Because if you're talking about a dream, if there's a dream that you want and you want a software that can deliver on that dream, then Apron's your person. Let's have a look.
I'm here with my friends over at Apron, our new sponsor, and we've got an amazing feature that just went live. It's called Capture, and this is going to revolutionize the way you get data from your client. Watch this. Get the receipt, take the photo, bish, bash, done. That's it. This is going to be dead quick, dead straightforward, dead simple, and more importantly, it's easy for your clients to use. Did I tell you got WhatsApp as well? What more do you want?
And that is a solution that just does what it says on the tin and works. And they've got a vision, and we absolutely love their vision. So yeah, thank you very much, Apron. Thank you for all your support. And if you want to know more about Apron, then you know where to go. Go over to the Apron website, have a look at it, have a play around, use that WhatsApp functionality. Your clients are going to absolutely love it. Yeah, it's really, really good. Cool. Johann, do you want to bring in the Bright news then next, and then we'll move on to our one after that?
And it goes back to that vision, doesn't it? They've obviously decided they want to go from. So we had Accountancy Manager, which is now Bright Manager. Then they brought out Bright Propose, where so you're starting the journey with Bright earlier. Then they brought BTC, so you think accounts, production, tax returns, etc. Well, last week they announced the acquisition of My Working Papers. So it fills that hole, doesn't it, between the practice management solution, then you've got your FMS solution that feeds into your working papers, that feeds into BTC or Bright Tax as they're calling it. So in theory, a very cool acquisition from them. Affordability and actually trying to plug all those systems into each other is going to be a whole different kettle of fish. Like, I don't know if they were missing something like working papers, and that's why development and integration between like Bright Manager into BTC hasn't been phenomenally exciting recently. I don't know. This could be the next step that helps them achieve everything they're trying to achieve. But yeah, so My Working Papers is now, we've not had a formal name yet, but I'm going to go on a limb here and say it'll be called Bright Working Papers or
Bright
Papers, something like that. Again, that vision is not a bad vision. It's a very cool vision. Like, the concept is incredible. It's deliverability, and can they do it quick enough before they annoy everyone that they've been sold this vision that's not actually being delivered yet? I don't know.
Yeah. Because that, I mean, we've been trying to bring that functionality into Client Engager our end, right? And we're having to kind of do a bit of a, because we use QuickBooks Working Papers in our practice, so we've had to do a bit of a thing where we do deep links and everything else. But the idea is that if I send in the practice management solution a job to one of my team to maybe, I don't know, review or prepare a set of account, and if they can just click on the button, it comes back to what we were talking about Sage last week, right?
Yeah.
If there's that one click, that's the workflow we all love, right? And that's the workflow we want. What we don't want to do is having to open up a piece of software, go into it, click on here, click there, or worse still, and I've had this before in the past, where the team's gone to the wrong client and they've started work papers on the wrong client, or something, really, really frustratingly stupid like that. But this is the sort of thing where that integration will solve all that. And the idea, the vision that your practice management solution sat here, and you've got your accounts production here, and it doesn't matter if you use BTC or not now, because that working papers will sit in between it as the talking point to all of it. Amazing. Well, I'm well up for that as a solution. Maybe my only thing is that, because for me, the work papers, I've used it in the past, love the solution. My work papers, I think it's a great solution. You've already mentioned about the pricing, it was never quite right for us at the time, but maybe that can change, and that's an easy fix, right?
Yeah.
But what was frustrating for me was it was very much Australian based, because that's all New Zealand. I can't remember quite which one it was, but it was one of those regions that it was based. And when we were using it, and granted this was a couple of years back now, when we were using it, it was still very much based on those requirements. So if they can localize it quickly, it may already be like maybe I'm out of touch with it, but I think that's what it needs to do. It needs to have that localization and those deep integrations. If they can nail those deep integrations, I think that's a huge win, right? That's a great acquisition.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely an exciting acquisition for that tech stack. They've just got to move quickly to make sure it's all integrated as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And affordability. Like, I'm hoping, because they control all of that tech now, I would hope for the user's sake that means they can bring their prices down.
Yeah, or bundle it. If it was one bundle,
better,
a little bit more than maybe the competition, but you had all of those functionality.
Yeah,
sold,
because
isn't it?
As much as you and I love QuickBooks Working Papers, the major downside is that it is only for QuickBooks licenses.
Yeah, without workarounds. Yeah,
you and I constantly review and look at other solutions from a point of view of, I want an all-in-one. And we said it I think I said it last week, like, this is what I want. Like, what Sage announced is almost what I want QuickBooks to hurry up and announce, in the fact that I want them to have an API that pulls through trial balances from Xero and Sage and Free Agent and stuff. Otherwise, my team are already more and more regularly ranting about the frustration of that, because we've got clients that are on Xero, we've got clients that are on Free Agent, and if we're going to if we want a slick solution, it needs to be a solution that works for every client.
Yeah,
we need the same workflow, which QuickBooks Working Papers isn't currently providing us.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I don't know if they've got any ideas or plans to do that. But yeah, I mean, I'll go back to your analogy, Aaron, of if I was starting out today, Bright would be a very tempting prospect, that dream of all-in-one. Yeah. Is it affordable for someone starting out today with a brand new firm to have that whole solution? Very different question. But yeah, I'd be interested to see where it all goes. And like, when I see acquisitions like that, I do sit there going, like, we've already got the pricing at Engager.app. We've already got the practice management. Yes, there's loads more work we want to do there. But in 2025, do we look at Working Papers? How can we make that work? Because that does then make sense. And if we're going to do that, then actually we may as well then go into accounts production. And then if we're doing that, we may as well go into tax production. But there's so many complexities and so much work just maintaining the right equations and inclusions and exclusions and stuff, that it's a whole different beast. So it's never going to be something we look at in the short term, or maybe even in the medium term. But the idea is there. And I'd say the only thing they're missing is the FMS solution, but they do have surf accounts, don't they? But it's not in the UK, really, is it?
No, not really. And really, you've got to imagine that's coming at some point, right? And some sort of, receipt capture functionality included in there is like the only small bit that they're missing, right? But I would say for them, the next thing they really want
to... for sale at the moment.
Yeah, maybe. You're definitely not allowed to talk about it if there was. But one thing I would say is that I don't think that's where they need to learn. And maybe this is what the work papers overall is going to be. But I think they still need to concentrate on the health of the books, right? That area that we still haven't really found the perfect solution for, right? Your Dex position, your Zama, not Zama. Is it Zama? It is Zama. Xenon, sorry.
No, Xenon.
Yeah, Xenon. Yeah. So they still need to do that. Now, work papers, in theory, could do that. And I'm surprised that work papers isn't already doing that. You've already got that connection, right? You're already bringing that data. Why not do something with that data, right?
Yeah.
If either that,
so you're thinking like a bookkeeping review tool that, we're doing it annually in working papers, so why can't we do it monthly or quarterly?
Why don't we get told about it? Like we all, like, you've kind of sold us a dream of, and what client engager wants one day, right? Like that whole idea that you're not just talking about bookkeeping based on a date, it's based on a score. Like that's the dream, right? And I think that's where Bright, if I was the visionary there, that's where they need to be looking at now. Like work paper's amazing, fantastic idea. Like that is a massive big tick that they're gonna, that's gonna really help them. But they need to think about, well, how do we bring that information in? How do we drive our processes? How do we drive all of our workings and a task, should I say, within practice management? And I think that's the bit that they need to do. And if hopefully my work papers can do that, but if not, I think that's what they need to focus on now. Because the FMS solution, the market now, unfortunately for them, it's quite set, right? We've got those 3, maybe 4 main players out there. It's going to be very difficult to bring anyone in there. Iris tried, CCH tried, you can keep going about all the ones that have tried and failed. Realistically, they just need to.
KPM's trying, Nomi's trying.
Yeah.
They're just, they're
they
not
work
getting the
in
traction.
certain circumstances, don't they? Like there's certain small client base that work really well for. But ultimately, if you've got a business who's looking to scale or looking for that, I think they need that functionality that comes with the bigger FMSs. Like that's you can't replicate that overnight. That's a big process to come up to feature parity to what those are. So I think realistically, they need to start working with those more, like use the data that's there. Very much so, like, Engager's doing with Free Agent, right? And then bringing that data in and using that data that's there. Like that's what we need to see more of, right? We need to see that through everyone. Paul says, I have to say one frustration is that, yes, you can export the data to Excel, but they are all different formats. I spent ages reforming cells before I can even work on the data sometimes. Keep an eye out on a video coming up very soon, Paul, where I may solve that problem for you. Kirsty says, like Sage can do all in one. Okay. Yeah. Any more on that one before we move on, Jan?
No, I think it's an interesting acquisition. My only concern for the users of Bright is it another distraction for their tech team to focus on the implementation of that when they've not really implemented Bright Tax fully yet, and a lot of the Bright Manager users are screaming out for development.
Yeah, exactly right, exactly. Okay, and they've got to figure out the price point. They've still got to. I mean, for me, if they could give, everything in their whole suite for, I don't know, I'm just putting a number out, 100 quid or whatever per user, and they've got everything unlimited use, that becomes quite attractive, right? And then you start thinking about, well, every time you bring a new employee on, should I say, it's 100 quid, or whatever the number's going to be. I'm making these numbers up.
I would challenge that. I would go, right, well, actually, can we do that whole suite of proposals, practice management, an FMS solution, whether it's self accounting, whatever they decide to bring into the UK for that, working papers that helps us do our bookkeeping reviews, Bright Tax. If they turn around to me and say, well, you can have all of that, but it's per client, that's easier for me to price to my clients. Because I just go, right, well, it costs me a minimum of this per month just to have that client on the books.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I do feel like, I agree, but I do feel like that model's already been done well elsewhere, and they've got to be brave to be different, right? They've got to go for a different mentality, and rightly or wrongly, but for some practices it would work and for some it wouldn't, right? But I feel like the per user, per client one is already there.
It's not there at Bright though, is it? But
no, it's not. But that's what I'm saying. Let's change
client. The problem with per user instead of per client is if someone goes on maternity leave, or if someone decides to come back off maternity leave, but they want to job share.
Yeah.
As the firm owner, I'm paying a software tax for that to offer that support 100%. And that flexibility.
Yeah.
But if it's per client, I know, well, actually, I'm paying more because I've grown my firm.
Yeah.
New staff members doesn't necessarily mean growth.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's right. There's no right or wrong answer, right? And it's going to be right or wrong in each way. But I just feel like for them to, and it's the same argument we've had with, Apron versus Dex, right? You're going to price it. You need to have that target audience in mind. If you're going for premium, fantastic, but then you need to deliver the premium solution. In Bright's place, they need to go for premium, or at least they need to go for eco. They need to go for all in one payment is all right. I feel like that's what they just need to nail going forward. Maybe that's what was it Bright Plus is going to achieve, maybe, but yeah, they've gone very quiet on that.
They pushed it really hard on Accountex, and then with t-shirts and everything, still no reference on social media, nothing on their website. It's a bit odd. Maybe there wasn't enough interest in it. I don't know.
Or they're kind of beta testing it with some users, maybe, and seeing how it goes potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an odd one. Okay, cool. Next topic of the day before we close out. Social media has been a bit odd this week. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm in my bubble. Maybe it's a little bit.
Your little echo chamber.
Yeah, maybe it's my echo chamber that's kind of caused it. But it's been a bit spicy, a little bit spicy, and I don't know if I like it or not, to be honest, because I don't know about you. You're completely. We have completely different social media, routes that we're taking. Right? You've gone full blown. LinkedIn's your main platform, thought leader. That's what you want to push, and it works really well for you. I've obviously gone for YouTube's my main platform. I want to make training videos. I want to educate. That's my thing. I want to review things. I want to push my opinion that way. And then my other social media platforms are always just ones that I will take a fleeting interest in. So every now and again you'll see me post on LinkedIn. Every now and again I'll post on Instagram. Every now and again I'll post on TikTok. Right? They're always going to be second best to that main platform. And I saw today or last week how a member of our practice management club, they've been posting daily in LinkedIn for the past, I think it was 2 months now, and their stats have gone through the roof. Like it's that consistency is king. The idea that they've been able to put consistent content out there, relevant content, and they're seeing some great results out of it, right? So with any social media, you've got to knuckle down. You've got to find the platform, and you've just got to, and we've only got so much time, so we can only invest in one platform or another. But I must say, I think LinkedIn at the moment is a place to be pushing for, because if anything's gone by, like even just my interaction with LinkedIn lately, it's become such a more, I don't know, spicy place in a nice way. Like there's been, instead of just having these safe topics that everyone keep putting up, blah blah blah.
Debate
there is, and there's a lot more going in, and we thankfully it's not gone down the political spectrum. There's been a couple, but there's not in the political spectrum ones that could get really nasty. But they've always been quite tongue in cheek, haven't they? They've always been quite me personally, I've had some posts that were put against me that I chose to stay away from, right? There was some involving some footwear that I decided to just ignore and push on. But this time, there was a particular post that went in my way, like completely targeted me, right? It was against the software that I pretty much, have a personal brand of because of. And,
Aaron, this is a safe space. Are you feeling bullied? You can tell me, and you can tell our listeners, it's a safe space. No one's going to judge you for thinking you have been.
Well, I did get attacked by my football team. So, my national football team, right? And all I could say is that it was brilliant to see how that little bit of debate, that little bit of, cheeky back and forth and everything else really did, like stats wise and all that sort of, if you want to go into all that sort of, catapulted my normal interaction that would always have. And I think that's the thing that maybe I've always missed from LinkedIn. Maybe it's always been there, but that little spicy little, and the context of this one was a certain member of the accounting industry decided to say that QuickBooks was like England and tried to be derogative and tried to say that they were slow and all this over. But I quickly went back on the defense, because you can attack QuickBooks all you want, but you're not attacking England. Like that ain't gonna happen on my watch, right? Like that hurts. So I went straight on the defense. But that whole conversation topic and everything else just blew up. And maybe it's always been there. And maybe again it's me not putting enough effort into LinkedIn to see it. But I'm telling anyone else out there, if you are looking to grow your social media platform and LinkedIn at the moment, just have those friendly, spicy banters with people, because that's what people are interested in, right? Like people were throwing comments in like, oh, Aaron, what are you going to say next to this? And it created that banter. And again, maybe it was always there, but I feel like there's been a shift lately where that's almost more acceptable now, and it's. I feel like the platform's maturing, isn't it?
Yeah, in this case of this post, it also showed all the things that you don't want to do on a viral post. So QuickBooks started rolling out some of their big hitters, and I don't think their posts landed very well. They looked a bit smarmy of, we always want your feedback. Why don't you come and tell us about your experience? Like, well, that was just poorly judged. That's not how. Like, they should have just sat back, because all they did was give that post and stream of comments airtime on their own channels to their own fans, and it's not like any of them stepped up and stepped in.
And at a time when they're not in the best shape, right? Like, there's been a lot of negativity around it at the moment. Yeah, you're right.
And then you've got other people that were clearly commenting using AI technology, and the comments were out of context. They were and they were trying to defend QuickBooks. So it's like, oh my God, the fact that you've just used AI, which is so blatantly obvious you've used, hasn't helped anybody. In fact, if anything, it's made it worse. Because people are arguing like the AI in QuickBooks is going to be phenomenal. They've obviously used AI to respond to a comment and made themselves look like the clowns doing it.
Yeah. They might as well have used a left in at the top where it's like generated by AI. They might as well just left that in, right? Like,
exactly. But also, like, you don't have to hit spicy topics to get traction. So last Saturday, a week ago, I posted on LinkedIn about the beer fridge in my shower at Brewdog Hotel. 35,500 views.
Yeah.
That thing's still getting views a week later. Like, absolutely no context to business, no comparisons to anything. Just, I love the novelty of having a beer fridge in my shower when I come to a Brewdog Hotel.
Yeah. And I agree.
35,500 views.
And I agree that you don't have to do the spice thing, 100%. But what I'm trying to say is it's almost a cheat code, because for you, right, the reason it got 35,000 is because you've spent so much time and effort to build up your LinkedIn as it is. You understand the algorithm, you understand when to post. You've done your research, right? You are, that is your platform of choice. Yeah. So and what I'm trying to say is that's a storm in a bottle type of approach, right? Like lightning hit because you put the right work in to get to that point for the lightning to hit. But for someone else to post that, they're not necessarily going to get the same results or be able to find that exact topic that's going to do that for them, right? Whereas being involved in these more spicy and it's all bad. No one's throwing accusations around here, and Stuart knows the next time that I see him, I'll still more than happy to have a beer, and because he's done so much for me, right? Like, he's given me so much advice and everything down the line. Still so much respect for the guy, but the fact that having that conversation, having that back and forward, having that just it did wonders for and it gave me more of an emphasis to be more involved in LinkedIn, put it that way, right? And it gave me that I think, actually, maybe I've got something here. Maybe that is a take.
You're starting to see the light I've been telling you about for the last 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I should listen to you more often. Yeah.
I mean, just putting it out there.
and maybe I should listen to this guy more often as well, that actually says, or they should have spoken to me. Yeah, tell me about consistency. It works for me. Kirsty says, yes, a few interesting topics lately. And LinkedIn is the only social media. LinkedIn is the only social media, not just for getting clients. We make awesome friends too. Completely agree. And Kirsty also says, yes, I had some good stats thanks to the discussion about the pop-ups. Thanks to two of you.
Yeah, you see, that's another great example of Kirsty called QuickBooks out in this case for advertising, finding an accountant to clients to users of QuickBooks that QuickBooks know full well have accountants, bookkeepers linked to their accounts, or even worse, it was a popping up in accountants and bookkeepers' own QuickBooks Online accounting license. Like, that's just shockingly poor level of attention to detail. But then and everyone jumped on saying, it's really frustrating, blah, blah, blah. Nothing nasty or angry, really. But then QuickBooks started responding. And they actually made it worse, because they were almost dismissive of it. They were almost like, oh, it doesn't really matter, and we know it's happened, sorry, and this is how it's happened. So we know how it's happened. We're not idiots. And then saying they were disappointed in people's comments. And it's like, well, actually, let's reserve the disappointment for the mess up that was in your own team. Like, don't be disappointed that we as users are disappointed. Fix it. Apologize. We know what the problem is. We're going to work hard to make sure it doesn't happen again. The problem is this has happened before. So lessons haven't been learned. Processes haven't changed. And actually, again, I would argue QuickBooks would have been better off not responding at all.
Yeah, but yeah,
because they or saying, thanks for bringing this to our attention. We do apologise. We are working on internal processes to prevent this happening in the future. Leave it there.
Yeah.
That's all they had to say, but they actually made it worse for themselves again. Like,
yeah, they
PR
definitely
and social media over there is a nightmare at the moment. It's just really poorly done.
Well, I don't know if it's poorly. I think at the moment they're under a lot of pressure, right? Because there is a lot of negativity with the posts that have been putting up there and everything else, and it's not just them. Xero, I remember seeing Xero having one that's did quite well with error messages popping up Xero end. So like when software doesn't work, it's a nightmare for social media teams and everything else, because they're just having to fight fires, right? And trying to.
The Xero one was more focused on, there's another error message and it's not working, but you've just put your prices up.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's focus on getting the core product right.
Yeah. If you're going to charge me more, let's make sure it's working. Yeah, exactly right. And that's always going to be like, where do you, from a PR point of view, where do you stand with that? Should Xero jump in and be like, oh, don't worry about
Xero
it?
Did they?
I don't think they did, but they should have done, right?
I'd have said. No, I'd have. If I was them, I'd have dropped them. I would have dropped a message directly to the user, apologising, thanking them for making them aware, and explaining it, and just leave it at that. Like,
but sometimes the silence is more negative, right? Because I know on that post, people are like, oh, notice how Xero's just ignored us and they're not talking to us. And maybe they did come back to him. Maybe they did put a little, but the general public, the people watching that post, people who watch the post 3 weeks from now, right? They're the ones that have no context of what's gone on and just see this negativity around it. So that's not our realm of expertise, right? PR is never.
Is this because the social media and PR teams at Xero, QuickBooks, etc., are so used to dealing with stuff that's actually short term in the algorithm? So like Twitter or X as it's called now. If that blows up, it blows up for a few hours, a day, maybe, because the Twitter algorithm will move that thing along your wall so quickly, most people won't see it because there's so much in the form of posts. You can't do that with LinkedIn. Like, LinkedIn sticks around. LinkedIn's algorithm will serve it. So the reason I'm still getting views and comments and likes on my Brewdog thing is because LinkedIn will keep serving that post up on the walls of people coming on a week or two later.
3 weeks, and I had a post 3 weeks ago.
That's it. I've got posts from 2 or 3 months ago that this weekend got reactions and comments on. And it's so you have to take a different approach to how you handle things on LinkedIn from a PR point of view to how you handle it on Twitter. Because it hangs around.
100%. Yeah, and then Ashley also says LinkedIn is like being a real life networking event. It doesn't have to be stuffy or formal. We can have fun and be our normal selves. But that's definitely changed, and I know it changed probably 2 years ago now, and I'm late to the party on it. But originally that never was the case, right? And I think there was some stick the other day about someone putting a post on about a relationship status. And everyone was boo-hooing them for putting a relationship status on LinkedIn. But I feel like it's slowly starting to change, isn't it? And those sort of things are more acceptable, more personal. It's about your personal brand and going forward. So it's a topic we will come back to time and time again, I think, with social media, because it's ever changing, ever evolving. But my personal take on it at the moment is now's a good time to be involved in, and like Kirsty says from her point, like there's definitely some traction to be made at the moment. The
trick is now for Kirsty, now she's had that traction, she has to now post daily.
Yeah.
to maintain that momentum if that's what she wants. If it's just a flash in a pan and she's not interested in building in social media presence on LinkedIn, then that's fine. But if you get a viral post, so like my Brewdog one at 35,000 views, I've then posted daily since. Now some of them have had 800 views, others have had 2, 3, 4,000 views. I'm not expecting to get another 35,000 one. That is I caught the algorithm on a good day type thing. I got a cool topic, I got a picture that caught people's attention, etc. But the way you get to 2,000 to 4,000 views on every post is by posting every day.
Yeah, consistency is key, isn't it? Consistency is key. Right, on that we have gone over, so apologies people, but great topics I think today. I think we've had some nice topic about the future of practice management, the nice topic about social media, and we didn't even get to go over what pre-order I made, but we'll keep that safe for another day. Johann, you quickly want to go over some client engager updates so that people are up to date with what's happening in the world?
I mean, our community is already very well aware of it all, but we've got new customization coming to our login screens for both the client portal and the firm portal. So it's going to be a lot more personalized and up to you guys how you use it, how you style it. I've already seen some fantastic designs. Like people were up at 1 o'clock this morning updating their profiles. So that always tells me when we've done something that you think, oh, it's no extra value or functionality giving customization of a login screen, but the novelty of us doing it has led to people staying up until 1 o'clock in the morning waiting for the update to come out so they can tweak it ready for Monday morning. Like it's a phenomenon. I don't often see that kind of excitement in practice management software, but we get it quite often now of users that are going, what time is it getting released? I might stay up and play with it type thing. So we're now called Engager.app, and I've got new t-shirts somewhere, not in the office apparently. But yeah, we've got new t-shirts. We'll be pushing on for Engager.app is just new name, new login screens, and we're not charging you to customize your own login screens. Like that's a value added service, unlike some. But yeah, and then Kirsty's asked, will you be doing a session next week at the British Grand Prix? We are going to go
for a second, just because I'd neglected Instagram. So Instagram have had a few comments in there. Amy Hannock says, we've got your back, Aaron. So thank you very much, Amy. Thank you for that. And so does Stephanie as well. Stephanie says that she has my back as well, and also says her Dex post was one of the most highest viewed. But what I love the most is that DMs I receive from other bookkeepers and accountants who are also struggling with the same issues and could help them out. And that's what it's about, right? Like I know I spoke to her about it the other day, and from her point of view, it means that she's then in conversation and helping those others out who may be in a similar thing. Sometimes that's all it is, right? It's just that you're having a particular issue, you tell someone, and it's just that knowing that someone else is going through the same pain you are, that's all it takes. And you may not be able to solve their problems for them, but just knowing you're going through those same problems, so important, isn't it?
That's why I love sharing my firm's tech stack. I do it every couple of months of this is our tech stack, this is what we're using for everything. It's not to get any love or attention from those tech suppliers. It's actually, we're always asking each other at networking events and conferences and stuff, what are you using for this? What are you using for that? Well, instead of having that conversation 4 times a year in 4 events all next to each other, I want to have that conversation every month or 2 where I'm going, this is where we're up to at the moment. This is what I'm trialing. Yeah. And people always drop me a message going, oh, can it do this? I'm having the same issue with that one. Your new solution, can it do that? And I love that conversation.
Yeah, 100%. And as you alluded to, Kirsty says, will you be doing one next week after the British Grand Prix? We will, and probably in live as well, in person. So that's going to be an interesting approach. And depending on the result, Depends on how enthusiastic we might be on that. But we'll always be enthusiastic, don't worry. But yeah, we could be even more enthusiastic than always, than normal. So with that, I think we need to call it there. We are over time. So apologies, everybody. Have a great week. Hopefully we get to say hello to you in socials and all that as we go along. Thank you, everyone who's watched today. We've had a really, really packed show in terms of it. Yeah, go Lando. Exactly. I'll be papayed up to my eyeballs come next week. Can't wait. Cannot wait at all. And also, fun fact, keep an eye out for the flag, the final flag, you know, the checkered flag at the end, may have my little name on. So if you can, if anyone can kind of screenshot
it
and then enhance, that'd be really appreciated if anyone can do that, because I doubt we're going to be close enough to do it. But yeah, cool. Looking forward to it. Can't wait for next week. We'll have some spicy topics as always. But again, thank you very much for everyone who's watched us. Johann, anything you want to plug before we go?
No. If you haven't checked out your new login screens at Client Engager or Engager.app, I'm going to have to get used to that. Make sure you have a look at it today and personalize to your heart's content.
Loving it. Brilliant. Cheers, everybody. We will see you next week. Bye for now.
Goodbye.